Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we're going to take a look at this 2023 Audi A5 Sportback S-Line 45. Huge shout out to Audi Northlake for providing this vehicle for me today. Make sure you guys check out their website. All that info is down in the description. The A5 that you see behind me is finished off in Mythos Black Metallic with an MSRP just over $56,000. As we move on to what powers this A5 now, underneath the hood is the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that's paired to the 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission, and it pumps out 261 horsepower around 6,300 RPM and 273 pound-feet of torque around 4,200 RPM. That power sent through the Quattro all-wheel drive system. This weighs in right around 3,700 pounds. It'll do 0 to 60 in 5.6 seconds with a top speed of 155 miles an hour, and it has a fuel capacity of 15.3 gallons. You'll expect to see around 24 miles per gallon in the city and 32 out on the highway. This has a wheelbase of 111.2 inches. Its overall length is 187.2. It has a width of 72.6 and a height of 54.6 inches. As we move on to the exterior styling now for this A5, let's start off with the hexagonal grille. As you can tell, it's finished off in gloss black. This model has the black optics package, which blacks out a lot of the trim pieces. Even the Audi logo up front is blacked out. This has a forward-facing camera nicely placed underneath that. The hexagonal pattern within the grille will provide a lot more cooling and aerodynamics to this engine as well. The entire surround is blacked out, and this even has the adaptive cruise and all of those technology features. So there's a sensor in each corner of the bumper surrounded with more trim. There's even an air inlet on the far outside there to provide even more aerodynamics. And this has the Matrix LED headlights with the LED DRLs and LED turn signals. Now the DRLs and turn signals are on the upper strip of the housing, so it gives it a fantastic look. I love all of the lines for the housings themselves. They match nicely with all of the lines that are coming down the hood. They start at the base of the side mirrors there and continue their way to the top of the grille just to tie it in nicely. It gives it a sporty and aggressive look for this Sportback vehicle. Now as we move on to the side, this has a set of 19-inch wheels with the 5-spoke design. There's a two-tone finish. The brake calipers are finished off in red, which is a great contrast. It matches the red accent with the S-Line trim badge just behind that tire. Now this has body colored side mirrors with the camera and the integrated turn signal, and it even has a sunroof up top. All of the window trim is blacked out, a part of that package like I mentioned earlier, and there's very crisp lines running down the side of this Sportback. One starts right at the headlight and it makes its way all the way to the taillights. There's some more lines in the lower section of the door there. It's a very crisp line that gives it a distinctive look, and I love with the Sportback design, it flows nicely with this rear end. Now as we move on to the rear, the Audi badge is blacked out. This has a small trunk lip spoiler that works nicely with the rest of the bodywork. It almost looks like one continuous line going all the way to those LED taillights, where this even has the sequential design for those turn signals. This has a backup camera, all the parking sensors. There's some more plastic trim just between the dual exhaust. And with the exterior wrapped up for this A5, let's move on to the cargo space. I can use the button next to the rear view camera or double tap that button and it will automatically open up, providing you with a ton of space. With the Sportback design, it's not a traditional trunk, so it gives you a lot more opening to those back seats. Now on the driver's side, there's a net. There's a little bit more storage over on the passenger side. And underneath the floor, this even has a spare tire. You could use this to hide a little bit more items if you needed some extra storage. And then when you fold those back seats down, this gives you, like I mentioned earlier, a lot more interior storage. Very practical for this vehicle. So if this is your only vehicle, you have a lot of usability for it. Now with the power liftgate, you can close and lock the vehicle. The one on the left side will just close it. And now we can move on to these back seats where you can actually lock and unlock the vehicle using this door handle, which makes it a lot more convenient. And on this particular model, with everything on the exterior being blacked out, with that two-tone design for the wheel, the interior is finished off in beige, which is a great contrast. All of that is leather, of course. There's some gray stitching, really nice trim piece underneath the brushed aluminum release handle. This has the Bang & Olufsen sound system and a little bit of storage in that door. And then moving on to the leather seats, they have a nice design running down them. All of that perforated leather gives it a great touch. Now at 5'10", I can hop into the back where I have the front seat set at my height. It's a little bit crammed in the back, but it's definitely doable. I have plenty of room. There's also a net behind both front seats. 2 air vents are in the middle, along with the temperature dial and some auxiliaries so you can charge electronics. My head is just up against the headliner here, so if you are taller than me, it's going to be slightly uncomfortable. But even with this Sportback design, you don't really sacrifice too much headroom. So I could be back here comfortably. If you're any taller than me, it might be a little bit crammed, but it is definitely doable for adults to ride in the back. Now right in the middle, there is an armrest. So if I pull this down, there's a little bit of storage underneath that if you need to use it. There's also a cup holder on both sides, which are individual there. And the middle seat even folds down. So if I pull on that release, I can fold that down. Gives you a lot more access into the cargo space there if you need to use it. And then as far as visibility goes, I like that there's another window there right next to the headrest. So it provides a lot of light for your backseat passengers. You could have 3 people back here and be comfortable, so they are usable. Now as we move on to the driver door panel, it's finished off just like the rear. There's the addition of all the window controls, side mirror adjustments. These are power folding and heated. More of that trim, all the memory seating adjustments, the power liftgate release, and some more storage space in that door. S is also down on the brushed aluminum trim piece on the door sill. And there's the same design for these front seats with all that piping. Gives it a great look. They are automatic seats. However, you can adjust the front section manually just by pulling on that tab if you need a little bit more comfort. And it's much easier to enter and exit the front seats. And looking at the steering wheel now, it's completely covered in solid black leather. There's some brush trim in the lower section. Over on the right side is the heated steering wheel button along with Bluetooth and voice commands. There's volume and tuning. On this left side, all of these are for the virtual cockpit, which I'll come back to. And as I mentioned earlier, with the adaptive cruise, the cruise control and those functions are down on that stock. This even has steering wheel mounted paddle shifters, which are finished off in black. But let's fire this up now. With my foot on the brake, that button is over on the right side, and we can bring this to life. And looking at this virtual cockpit, currently you can see on the left side is the tach, on the right side is the miles per hour, and there's a lot of information right in the middle that you can go through using all of those controls over on the left side. So currently it's showing the date and the time. If I scroll down, there's consumption. You can view the short and long-term memory along with the energy consumers and even pull up the driver assistance. Now, if I scroll over to the left, you can look at any messages that may appear along with the audio, even look at your phone when you have that paired. And now if I click on the view button, everything will get bigger. So you can see the tach and the miles per hour, and you can still go through all the information. It's just a little bit smaller right in the middle. So just depending on what you need to see and if you need it in a larger screen, very configurable, which is great to see. Now over on this left side is all the headlight adjustments along with a dimmer switch, and there's actually a very large compartment down below. So you could place in a lot of items if you need to, a great use of space to see. There's 1 air vent. And then as we move on to this center screen now, this measures just over 10 inches and it has a lot of information to go through. So currently you can see some icons like purchases, calendar, there's some messages to go into. And then we have more of the usable icons like radio, media. You can go into the phone and navigation. If I click on vehicle and go into the drive select, you can go between the driving modes like comfort, auto, dynamic, and individual. Go into the driver assistance, look at the air conditioning, some other settings like that. Now, if I scroll over to the split screen, it will pull up your music, phone, and navigation. So you can see all of those at the same time, which is great to see. There's shortcuts to the radio. You can pull up your music when you have your phone paired. You can pull it up there too. You can look at your phone, and then you have the navigation when that is accessible. And then underneath that are 2 air vents. They continue all the way to the passenger side. So it's one nice continuous strip with the hazards right in the middle. And then all of the climates are nicely placed underneath that. With all the brushed aluminum toggles, you can actually place your finger on them to see where you need to push this button. If you want to get to max or off, you already know if you have to push it up or down, which is great to see. Fan speed is right in the middle. You have where you'd like the air to go. You can even adjust the rear by using this toggle right here. And then with the dual zone system, you have driver and passenger adjustments. This even has heated and ventilated seats, which is really nice to see. And then underneath that, there is a shortcut to the drive select. So like I showed earlier, there's the engine start stop feature, traction control, the parking sensors. You can even shut that upper screen off if you'd like it more in a calm screen. And then you can push on that or the button to bring it back to life. Now there's a little bit of storage to the right of the engine start stop button and some auxiliaries so you could charge electronics. There's 2 cup holders, more of the piano black, a little bit more storage space just behind that. And over on the right side is power and volume for the radio. There's a little bit of storage behind that. And looking at the leather wrap shifter, if I use the release on the left side and push this forwards, we now have the 360 camera system with the top-down view on that right side. and you can pull up various angles just depending on what you like to see, and it gives you a lot of visibility. So it's awesome to see that feature in this model. And then all the way back is for drive. If I push it over to the right side, that allows you to shift using the shifter or the steering wheel mounted paddle shifters, and then park is on the back side of that. Now the electronic parking brake is just behind that, and right in the middle with the leather wrapped armrest. If I open this up, that reveals the wireless charging pad. There's an auxiliary and a little bit more storage. You can also lock this in certain angles. So if you want it open, you can do that. If you open it all the way, it will unlock and you can close it. And then for the glove box, there's plenty of room for all of that information. We'll take another look at this interior. Definitely a great combo against the exterior black. And with the sunroof up top, that adjustment is right in the middle. So you can click on that to open up the sunshade and then further open up the rest of the sunroof. There's some call buttons on the back side too, and this even has touch sensitive dome lights. As we get behind the wheel now for this 2023 Audi A5 Sportback, I actually just drove an S5 Sportback. So if you'd like to check out that video, that is down in the description. So it's pretty cool to drive these back to back. I drove the S5 first. So now it's going to be interesting to hop into the A5 because it does have a smaller engine. So we're gonna pop it into the manual setting. It's already in dynamic mode. And even with the smaller engine, it still has plenty of get up. Now obviously with the S5 you have more performance. You can go with the RS5 too for a little bit more performance. So it just depends on your budget and what you're looking for. This is essentially the baseline for this A5. And as far as maneuverability goes, I love the camera systems because you can clearly see the curb that I'm next to right there. And with another acceleration, I love that this is still performance oriented. Obviously not as performance oriented as some other models, but these paddles seem very responsive. So if you'd like to use them, they're there for you if you need to drop a gear, if you're passing out on the highway or something like that. But I love the fact that Audi still has some performance characteristics to it, even for their lower trim levels here. And as far as visibility goes, looking over my right side here, it's really not all that bulky. That pillar and the headrest for the passenger seat are pretty much in line. So you can see in front or behind. Over my left shoulder, I can quickly glance out of that glass. So I love how open feeling it is. For this Sportback design, I think it gives it a great exterior look, and you still have functions like visibility. You have some room for your backseat passengers. Like you saw, my head is up against the headliner in the back seat, so it's a little bit crammed, but you're not sacrificing too much to not only get the Sportback design, but also to give you that interior space behind the back seat. So I think that's a great overall design for the best of both worlds. Now, as far as driving out on the road with it in dynamic mode, we'll put it into comfort mode. And this is a great daily driver. For the price, you're getting a luxury vehicle, you're getting some nice materials and technology, and you still have a good amount of power. So you could easily have this as a daily driving vehicle. And as we switch over to the POV angle, you can see what it's like to be behind the wheel for this A5. Definitely very, very nice. Super comfortable, like I mentioned. I love how quiet this is. Even under some accelerations, it's not really that loud. So it would make for a great daily driver because of those aspects and how comfortable this is. Now, if we pop it over into the manual setting, we can also go into dynamic mode. Now we can use these paddles down to first gear. A look at visibility from this angle, as you can tell, pretty easy over this left side. Over the right side, equally as good. That pillar's not really all that bulky, so I do love how much glass there is. And then for a mild acceleration, catching back up to speed, just like that, without even thinking. Driving them back to back, of course, it's not going to be as quick. So if you're not into all that performance, you still have a healthy amount. But I think that's going to wrap it up for this walk around review and test drive behind the wheel of this 2023 Audi A5 Sportback S-Line 45. Once again, huge shout out to Audi Northlake for providing this vehicle for me today. Definitely check out their website. All that info is down in the description. And if you enjoyed today's video, give it a huge thumbs up. Consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. And I will see you all in the next video.